let me finish now chapter 8, and for the last part of this chapter, what we're going to look at is datum axes. And these are useful for us when we're thinking about rotating something about a point that may not be on a particular axis. So you guys remember the revolve feature that we were using? And I think it's right here. The revolve feature when we made the nozzle in class. Well, we may not necessarily want to make it around a particular axis point. We can create our own axes just like we could create our own plane. And what I have here is the same shape I was using in the last lesson. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert, Datum Point, and I'm going to select Datum Axes. Okay? And what we can do from this point, we can select a particular edge, for example. Let's go ahead and select this edge. And you'll see the axis that appears here. We can click OK. So there's the one axis that we have. Let's say we want to create another axis based on a plane that we have somewhere in this object. So I mean, ideally or theoretically, what we could do with this is we could, if we wanted to revolve something, we could revolve it around this particular axis. Now let's go ahead and insert a plane. So let's insert a plane. We'll select this face and we'll select this face. And we have something going down the middle. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to make an axis that comes down relative to this plane. So let's say I wanted something down the middle of this. So we could, all we need to do is we could select this axis and we could set what direction we would want this particular axis to come out of. Okay, so you see the other axes coming out here. You guys can continue to draw different axes, or we could use for a revolving point. Okay, so let me go ahead and move on to the next lesson in the final part of chapter 8. And for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start a, or all I'm going to do is just insert a, let's go ahead and insert a design feature, and we'll build a block. Now I want the block to have dimensions of 5 by 3 by 1, and I'll just start it at the origin. So here's our block. In this lesson, what I want to show you and talk about are parametric point entities. So let's say I wanted to control the location of some shape or something that I may have on the surface. Up to now, what we've been doing is we've only had a fixed position. Once we create a shape, for example, let's create a boss. So let's go to Insert, Design Feature, and we'll create a boss. And let's place, or before I do that, let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and click a location where I want the boss. Okay. And to do that, what I'm going to select in this case is the datum point. So I'm going to go to Insert, Datum Point. I'm going to select the point. And it's going to ask us where we want this point. So you can click on this solid surface, or you can specify the location where you want it. Let's say I want to specify the location as I want it at point 1, 1, 1. Okay? And I'll click OK. So there's the point that we have on the surface. Now what I'm going to want to do is let me go ahead and create a boss. So I'm going to go to Insert, Design Feature, and I'm going to create a boss. And I want the diameter of this boss to be 0.5, and I want the height of this to be 1 inch. Okay? And it's going to ask you, where do you want this? What part of the face do you want this? I want it on this top face. Okay, there it is. Now, let's click OK. And it's going to say, where do we want to place this boss? And I'm going to use this constraint called the point onto point constraint. And it's going to say, what point do you want? And I'll click this one. So now, what we have is we have the boss that we've created aligned with the point that we've created. So what does that mean? Well, that means that when we change the location of the point, the location of the boss will also change. So let's go back to our point 2, and let's say we want to change this location of the boss now, or what we're going to do is change the location of the point, and we'll click OK. And once we change that location, the boss will follow the location of that point, since the positioning of this boss is constrained to have the same positioning as the particular point. So that finishes chapter 8. It's basically just giving you guys some extra tools again to tackle some of the in-class problems we're going to have coming up. So in the next couple topics, I'm going to be talking about chapter 9, and we'll look at some other drawing techniques that we can use.